So, hello, Tanaka.
Hello, sir.
Uh, Please introduce yourself.
Sir, I'm Tanaka D Anand. I'm basically from Mysore, Karnataka. I'm an electronics and communication graduate from Sri Jayachamrajendra College of Engineering. I have briefly worked in a company called a Software Paradigm as a software developer, followed
Okay.
by finding my own company called as Pranay Technology Ventures, which was into e-commerce. Contemporarily, I'm working as a faculty in an institute in Mysore called Navodaya Institute.
Very well. So, you seem to have a very rich work profile. Uh, what are the key differences you would say, which are there in working as an entrepreneur and in working for somebody else?
So, basically, as an entrepreneur, you will be responsible for the vision and the ownership of the product. And more importantly, the financial part and economic aspect of it will be overbearing on an entrepreneur compared to an employee. And at the same time, the positives are the growth potential as an entrepreneur are too much because it is unlimited compared to an employee. While employee is within a structure, while
Hmm.
entrepreneur is infinitely bounded, I believe. So those
Hmm.
are in to put it in a crisp manner.
So, do you think that Indian culture somewhat encourages entrepreneurship?
Mm, if I see Indian culture as a toto, it is very much diversified, sir. For
Yes.
example, if we see certain communities, especially
Yes.
in the northwest part, if I want to particularly take the names, then if we see Agarwal, be it Marwadis, or in south, be it Chettiars, right?
Yes.
So they do have a lot of entrepreneurial culture among them. So the ecosystem of their society,
Hmm.
ecosystem of their loved ones, do support an entrepreneurial spirits too much compared to other communities which perhaps due to socialist influences post 1947,
Hmm.
it has given to an employee mindset, sir. So, my opinion, it is highly diversified.
What is it you think about these communities which you mentioned, like Agarwals or Chettiars, and there are several others, Jains perhaps,
Yes,
which results in such entrepreneurial spirit?
yes. Sir, perhaps a long history of being in the trading caste
Hmm.
is a huge boost for them, and that traditional aspect, perhaps being in the Vaishya segment of the Indian Varna system, has given a sort of I can say a stamp on the type of economic ventures that they would want to take compared
Okay.
to other communities and other population segments.
Okay. Do you think that caste networks, etc., they still play a role in entrepreneurship today?
Yes, I think it is definitely, sir. We can find out caste taking associational forms. We can find,
Hmm.
even if I want to tell about my own state, Karnataka, there is a Lingayat Entrepreneurship Network, which builds a close association, lends helping hand, helps in finances. So, yes, if I want to say, even in the contemporary world, yes, caste networks have taken a form of association and helping in the new age ventures. Yes,
Yeah. Uh, have you, by any chance, come across this literature called Caste as Social Capital?
yes, sir. Yes,
You have? He makes
yes,
a very similar argument,
yes,
Mr. Vaidyanathan there.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So if
absolutely.
you read it, he also talks about Vaishyavization of various caste groups.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
definitely.
what is this Vaishyavization that he mentions?
Sir, Vaishnavization typically refers to a sort of, if I want to take a contrasting analogy, Brahmanization brings up the sacred aspect or a sort of exclusivistic aspect, sir.
Hmm.
Vaishnavization is basically venturing into the economic aspect of the ordinary life. So
Hmm.
this is what to put it in a high level format.
Okay. And do you think this notion of Brahmanization or the broader concept of Sanskritization, is it, does it matter in today's times?
Sir, I think according to my observation, though there is no sort of hardcore study done in an objective manner, but apparently the perception is definitely in a covert manner or within the domestic sphere, Brahmanization or within close spheres, like for example a temple community or for example a religious community. The practices that are taken there, for example in a ritual, till today a Brahmin is invited to officiate over a ritual. So those in those sort of closed spaces, I think yes, Brahminization, Sanskritization is definitely playing a role, and that is
Hmm.
clearly visible in the attire that they wear, or perhaps the sacred thread, or the ritual or oblation or cleanliness they maintain, or the unique practices of cleanliness that is not perhaps valid in a rational sphere of mindset. So yes, definitely yes, it is working, sir.
And do you think such practices militate against the ideals of the constitution?
Sir, it has to be determined on the basis of sphere where it is working, sir. If someone wants to officiate over over a priesthood and he has a merit, or he or she or they have a merit, then if these sort of practices are exclusionary, then definitely it militates against the constitutional and secular ideals, sir.
Okay.
Mhm.
Uh, do you agree with the Ambedkar's social philosophy broadly? And
Yes.
what was it, if you could shed some light on it?
Uh, Sir, Ambedkar is a very vast and diverse personality. To put him into a sort of a concentrate, if I see, then he sees social sphere as liberty, equality, and fraternity as a primordial ideal. That's why perhaps he shifted over to Buddhism at the fag end of his illustrious life.
Hmm.
So, yes, um, I think. Uh, he Following him in toto is quite aspirational at this point of time, sir. It is much needed.
Okay. And do you think that Ambedkar's legacy is in danger as we speak?
Sir, I don't think Ambedkar's legacy is in danger because Ambedkar's legacy is hard coded into Indian constitution and it is well protected by the institutional independence that our country has it. And
Hmm.
yes, but isolated incidences and instances, be it atrocities against Dalits, which is objectively identifiable by the NCRB records, or perhaps even some deep researches that are done by the sociologists, then definitely yes, his ideals are not totally achieved, and we should strive for them. But are they in danger? No, I don't accept it, sir. I think we have to move towards the making his dream more a reality today.
Very well. Uh, on the context, in the, on the issue of Ambedkar, do you think that we need to revisit the basic, you know, principles of the constitution itself?
Sir, Ambedkar has perhaps put forward a futuristic constitution, I believe, sir. So,
Hmm.
and he has ensured a lot of flexibility to ensure the futuristic vision. So, to revisit its foundational pillars, I think it has been revisited frequently, be it in the form of including the words such as secular and socialist there, or perhaps even judicial bodies giving themselves the power of basic structure. So it has been constantly revisited, and perhaps that's why he referred to it as a living document.
Absolutely. Okay. Another issue that our society we are grappling with is the application of the creamy layer criteria to the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Do you think it will be a step in the right direction?
So recently, the judicial verdict that came after the E.V. Chinnaya verdict, especially in Lakshmi Naren Das and David Narsik verdict, clearly said that subcategorization of scheduled caste is a goal that has to be pursued. And in fact, if we observe at the state level, many states have already started going for the subcategorization. So this clearly means that there has been a sort of divide within the SC community. Some people are some communities. For example, if I have to refer to the state of Karnataka, there is something called as right hand and left hand. So right hand means a community that are doing very good, but left hand there are certain communities. If I for example Haralaru or Koramaru, they are still deep in misery, sir. So if EWS or sorry, my pardons for taking a different term. If creamy layer criteria can ensure that this divide can be bridged and equal representation within SC can be ensured, then yes, sir. I think that has to be pursued with a very strong rigor and commitment.
All right. Also, there is this demand for a nationwide caste census.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we should be conducting one?
Sir, caste census, yeah, that is really a tricky question because it might result in a double-edged sword. One aspect that the constitution aspires is to achieve a fraternal mindset. So a fraternal mindset has a single identity, I believe, that should be uniting us all as an Indian or as a Bharatiya. But at the same time, a lot of examples since the first ethnic census or first caste census that happened since 1870s have shown that census has resulted in consolidation of castes. And this consolidation sometimes has taken into modified forms also, where castes become parochial, claiming benefits that perhaps it is not really needed at that point of time. So yeah, in order to ensure that welfare benefits are equally given or representative benefits are equally given, an objective method should be a caste census. But at the same time, certain steps have to be taken that so that the caste census shall not result in a sort of further consolidation or parochial mindset. But that is for our political leaders and our academicians, NGOs, and all other to work in a cohesion manner.
Okay. Tanaka, if you could give me a sociological profile of the city of Mysore.
Yes, sir. If I have to say, sociological profile of Mysore city is it's quite interesting because it has one dominant caste called as Vokkali caste that typically can control around 13% of vote share here. And if I see the economic aspect of it, it is doing considerably less compared to the neighboring district because of the drought-prone status of it. And at the same time, if I have to go into a sort of the age structure that is there, Mysore is typically elder or aged compared to northern Karnataka district or even coastal Karnataka district. And even in the educational profile, sir, Mysore has a education ratio of around 72%, and but that is typically lesser compared to overall average of Karnataka. So these are certain aspects, and of lately, communal incidences are one of the things that are flaring up very recently, and ghettoization is also a problem because we can see certain communities being limited to certain wards, and it is just going on concentrating. So that is on a high on a keynote or on a fingertip. I can recollect all these sort of social parameters visible.
Very well. Apart from Mysore, have you stayed in any other part of the country as yet?
I have briefly stayed in Bangalore, sir.
Again in Karnataka, but
again in Karnataka, yeah, yes, sir.
Nowhere outside of Karnataka?
No, nowhere outside of Karnataka.
Very well. Since you mentioned ghettoization, and it is in the context of the minority community?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So, tell me, what do you think are the root causes of communalism and Islamophobia in our society?
Sir, one of the most important thing is a perceptual issue, sir. The
Yes.
perception that there is no uniting factor or commonality between the two communities,
Hmm.
that is breeding a sort of ghettoization, and this
Hmm.
is accentuated by the benefits that are drawn from that perception, and this has been highlighted by repeated commissions that have went through, including the Sachar commission. So one can leverage on this perceptual misunderstanding. So this is breeding a ghettoization as a factor.
Okay. And imagine yourself in charge of a district which is communally sensitive. Is there any which comes to mind in Karnataka which you
Yes,
would
sir.
regard as particularly communally sensitive?
Yes, sir. The coastal Karnataka part is communally sensitive.
Okay, so imagine if you were posted there in the district administration, and there is a say a religious procession of one community going to pass through from a road near the place of worship of another community,
Mhm.
right? And it is leading to the buildup of communal tensions. And uh, what steps do you think the administration can practically take to diffuse the situation?
Mhm. Sir, as you have explained, the situation has already unfolded, and the thing is, we have to deal with the ex post facto. So the primary steps that has to be taken is to maintain law and order, and to ensure that uh, that the state is not overwhelmed by the situation. So the immediate step would be to quell the violence, right?
Hmm.
So, but at the same time, along with quelling the violence, there should be serious attempt to develop interfaith solidarity. This can be
Hmm.
done via the associational forms on the either sides of conflict, be it responsible leaders who can voice out certain opinion and who have certain degree of credibility. So this should be
Hmm.
the most important thing, followed by a step of wearing confiscating if violent tendencies, or perhaps storing of weapons or petrol bombs, any sort of those things, to ensure that we confiscate that and ensure that the entire area is sanitized. But most important thing is ensuring a dialogue happens continuously, and so that no misunderstandings or perhaps rumor quelling, rumor spreading lead to further mishaps.
Very well. Uh, Tanak, tell me, do you think a uniform civil code will be a step in the right direction?
Sir, Uniform Civil Code has been an aspirational, and that I believe that it has been put up by constitutional forefathers in the directive principles with that aim. And we do have certain examples of Uniform Civil Code working in Goa in the form of Portuguese Civil Code, and some nascent examples happening in Uttarakhand. And at the same time, if I take a macro analysis of this entire India, then it is undeniable that women are given a shorthand, especially in the institute of marriage, especially in particular communities. And this due to some very perhaps complicated law structures, and authorities who determine those complicated law structures has aided in perpetuation of this discriminatory tendencies towards women. And yes, uniform civil code should be taken in a gradual approach, step by step approach, by building consensus across the aisle, so that the initiative which is noble should not result in further divisions within the society.
Very well. Tanak, also tell us, like, you think there is a north-south divide which exists? Like, is it for real?
Sir, definitely, sir. I think a north-south divide does exist.
Hmm.
My reasoning would be this sort of social and economical advantages or leapfrogging that South has over the North. And this is actually bred further by cultural differences in terms of language, in terms of practices that happen, that are quite stark when compared to North and South. In fact, Anthropological Society of India had done a study which says that across religion or across language, region is the predominant factor that binds the common way of life. So I think north-south divide exists, and this has become stark compared because due to existence of metropolitan cities, wherein economical opportunities are being seen as a new stage of fight. And this new stage of fight has got weaponry from regional characteristics such as language. For example,
Yes.
in Karnataka, there is a Kannadiga versus North, or Kannadiga versus Tamilians, for example, on the issue of Kaveri, right? So, yes, definitely there is a divide, and we have to understand the core issue that is creating the divide, and initiatives such as Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat, or perhaps equitable distribution of resources, these can considerably bring down those sort of tendencies.
Very well. And what's with this, whole language wars that we see? What do you make of it?
Language works, yes. In fact, sad to say, it is happening in my state, sir. Uh, yeah, again, going back to what I said before, one of the outfalls of those divides, of be it cultural differences and
Hmm.
economical disparity and feeling of the relative deprivation, right?
Hmm.
And this is especially seen in underclass and lower class, sir. It is not the elite Kannadigas or elite Tamilians who are fighting, because they are exposed to equal opportunities. They understand the advantage of being in a big state, United States, and the opportunities and advantages it gives. But if I see the lower class who don't perhaps are not aware or not made available of the opportunities that are available to the upper class, they are perhaps being instigated by some bodies that can leverage these sort of divisions, have led to one of the manifestation of language war, as you said.
All right. Uh, Tell me, Tanaka, you're also an educationist
Yes, sir.
presently?
Presently, yes, sir.
Okay, so what is your take on the national education policy which was unveiled a few years back? Give
Mhm.
me five odd things which you consider deserve to be celebrated from the NEP, and a few which you would consider its shortcomings or omissions.
Okay. Sir, national education policy has been a gigantic leap. It has come after 3 decades. So, if I go on counting the best of it, or what I find personally very enthusing, is the aspect of multidisciplinarity in the
Hmm.
education, which has broken up the siloed structure of how
Hmm.
our education system has manifested. Another aspect that makes me very interested in is the aspect of vocational education. So I
Hmm.
think it builds the connect between brain and hand, which is very crucial, because as for long we have been seen as a theoretical society and not a practice oriented society. And
Hmm.
one of the important aspect is the special education zone. So I think so. As I read it, it is to create a sort of hub wherein different ideas and perhaps differentials that exist within education and realms are bridged together. So that is another important positive. And I see some new disciplines being interviewed with the education system. When I see in my primary or higher education, those sort of disciplines were not available. So
Hmm.
I see a dynamism in creating a pedagogy. So that is the fourth aspect that I identify. And fifth most important aspect is the time bound approach. So it has clearly said that foundational learning and numeracy has to be achieved by this particular date. Multidisciplinary educational institutions have to be put up by 2040. So this creates a sort of urge and rush through which people have to deliver. So it is not something that a document cannot be a mere dead document. It has to be constantly referred and abided by. So these are the five most important advantages. And coming to shortcomings, sir, at this point of time, I think I might be able to see only a few. For example, I don't see a distinct push to bringing equity towards education, though there is a
Hmm.
mention of bridging through women and marginalized castes. But
Yes.
compared to the level of disparity that is there, if I see the SC enrollment or ST enrollment in higher education, the divide is too huge when we compare with general merit candidates. So I think a more push should have been made. And at the same time, I think another important aspect, being a sociologist myself, is the humanities aspect of it. Don't find a unique push, sir. As I see in terms of natural sciences, I would have loved something more on humanities and bridging the gap between humanities and natural sciences, if it is
Hmm.
possible. Why I say this, because when I see institutions of excellences such as IITs, so a token presence is there for social sciences
Hmm.
and humanities department. I would want this to be mainstreamed and made certain humanities department as informing the practical life in everyday that perhaps engineering and natural sciences are already doing today. So these are certain things that I would want it.
Very well articulated, though I do not entirely agree with your analysis, but nevertheless, uh, do you think there is also some sort of a gendering in educational spaces? Particularly, you see that STEM research and fields do not, attract so many female students, and arts are somewhat
Yes, yes, sir.
conspicuous by an absence of male students or something of the sort. Will that be a correct assessment to make?
Yes, I can bring in a certain sociological concept called as channeling, sir. I think
Hmm.
this happens at a very early age, from the
Hmm.
sport, from the type of attire, or even the life choices that they make.
Hmm.
So these are not just restricted in education. It is happening. The gendering is happening across all aspects of life style. So
Hmm.
education, yes, it is definitely hostage to the gendering, wherein we can see civil engineering being opted by male or mechanical
Hmm.
engineering being obtained by male, and
Hmm.
computer science is considered as what it is okay for females to go into, or perhaps medicine is okay, and gynecology. In fact, Dr. G was a movie that, in fact, brilliantly put the discipline of medicine, how gendering does happen. So yes,
Hmm.
I do agree with your assessment.
Very well. Uh, do you think having open book exams, that's a good way of assessing students' capabilities? Do you see it as a progressive development in the Indian education system, though we've only taken very tiny steps towards it?
Yes. Yes, sir. It is. I think it is a gigantic leap, and perhaps it should be made, because Indian education system is constantly accused or alleged to be rote
Hmm.
oriented. But
Hmm.
if I see in a practical life scenario, right? So I don't need rote knowledge. I need to find solution with the diverse resources that are there with me.
Hmm.
And this open book examination is a sort of microcosm of what it is to expect in real life, finding solutions through the resources that are available. When I see life in reality, it is not that resources are restricted to from me. Resources are made available. How I identify those resources and find solution from them is the real challenge of life. And I think yes, open book examination are a step in right direction. But I have to accept the fact that Indian education system has a huge responsibility of
Hmm.
perhaps I think 25 crore was the enrollment numbers, if I refer back to UDC report. So how we are going to achieve it? Yes, that is a challenge as well as an opportunity before us.
Very well. Uh, Tanak, could you attempt to give me a sociological analysis of student suicides that we hear of, particularly in places like Kota in Rajasthan,
Mhm.
in the context of competitive examinations?
Sir, student suicide has been an objective reality. So if I have to venture into a sociological analysis, then I feel it is a sort of mix of a sort of anonymous and egoistic suicide that is happening. So people there, they are sitting away from their family. They are broken away and they do not have support, and at
Hmm.
the same time they are driven by achievement, and they see their peer groups performing better and they might feel very low. And at the same time I find the aspect of marginal man there. So they are put in a whole cultural perhaps alienating environment, wherein
Hmm.
they feel that okay, there is no one to relate to, right? So this creates a sort of relative deprivation also. And and at the same time I also see a sort of mimicking attitude. Someone has committed suicide, and the young minds who cannot perhaps cope up with the pressures and try to replicate it, perhaps even to gain sympathy or perhaps to escape out of the realities of the life, and non-absence of psychological counseling, which is expected out of any sane society. So these are the sort of sociological explanation in a very short time, if I have to put it.
Okay. So if you were in charge of the administrative machinery in Kota,
Mhm.
Tarak, what steps would you take to, you know, stem these kind of incidents?
Sir, in charge of administrative machinery, I think the steps should be divided into both short term as well as long term. Short term steps would be to communicate to the people where the suicide is happening. For example,
Hmm.
or coaching institutions, people who are responsible to have both a sort of, I would hesitate to say this, but perhaps surveillance is necessary, right? Surveillance is necessary, and at the same time, at the coaching institution level, mental assessments and not being too harsh on their treatments, and especially this segmentization that is happening. I've
Hmm.
seen in quota that the top performance are put in one section, and subpar performers are put in another section. So this perhaps leads to a lot of mental burden and pressure to perform, but at the same
Hmm.
time, it gives crucial data points wherein suicides
Hmm.
can be monitored. So
Hmm.
this is the sort of thing both PG owners as well as institution owners can be an important touch points wherein I can perhaps on the short term reduce or perhaps dissuade people from committing suicide. But on the long term, it has to be education as a policy measure, how we conduct our competitive examination, and opportunities that are given apart from what cracking competitive. For example, someone goes into IIT and he doesn't make it, he or she doesn't make it. Then there should be opportunities other than that. So that should be considered as a viable option. For example, in UPSC, people who are attending interview are given a sort of hope that they would be recruited in public sector undertakings. So this brings down a sort of mental pressure and assudes the people
Hmm.
who are actually preparing that. So I think these sort of measures should be taken.
Uh, Very well. Uh, Tanak, if I may venture into the, are you interested in economic issues and their analysis?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So, what would you say has been the impact of globalization on the Indian economy?
Sir, globalization. I think globalization is has worked positively for Indian economy, especially
Okay.
after we opened our floodgates after the LPG era. If I see an economic analysis of that, then per capita income has zoomed after 1991. In fact,
Hmm.
the much often referred rate as Hindu rate of growth has been put behind, and we have come into averaging at around 8%, 7 to 8% per year. And perhaps we are the $3.1 trillion economy. But at the same time, I also see a lot of inequality being bred in, and some
Hmm.
sectors doing giving superlative performance when compared to other sectors. Especially
Hmm.
agriculture has been is not going as per expected, and it still harbors a lot of subpar employment or marginal employment, which is not gainful or aspirational. But at the same time, service sector has done
Hmm.
tremendously good, and it has created many multimillionaires, if I have to say. So globalization on that aspect, and another aspect, if I see globalization has resulted in global value chains, wherein on the certain part of value chains which are extractive in the nature are being
Hmm.
sent to countries like India. To put it in a better word, I think sweatshops would be the word that is right at this context. But even the cutting edge research or creation of IP, even in the service sector, are still harbored in the Western economy. So this is
Hmm.
explainable through core and periphery concept of the sociology too, sir. So yes, we have got both ends, and we the Atmanirbhar Bharat concept that is being presently put out tries to bridge a lot of the negatives that are there in the pattern of globalization and amplify the positive aspects of it.
Okay. Do you think Indian economic growth is responsible for global warming?
I think the type of contribution is very minimal. Uh, in fact, if I see the growth pattern, much of the
Mhm.
emissions that have been put up post 1850s are due to coal-intensive manner that Western economies happen. And from 1970s, it has been Chinese economy that has been burning the maximum coal that is possible. And at
Mhm.
even at a per capita level, if I see, then Indian contribution is just one fourth at a per capita
Mhm.
basis when we compare with the global average, right? So I don't think Indian economy is responsible. And it is sad to say that when global warming and green economy have taken a center stage, then India has a lot of development that still has to happen. And we have to embrace the green pattern which others were not forced to do. So, yeah,
Mhm.
I think that is a sort of short end of the stick that India in contemporary times has got.
Uh, Last question to you in this regard. Do you think, the notion of socialism that we find that also finds mention in the constitution, is it frankly outdated now in the context of liberalization of Indian economy?
No, sir. I think socialism has to persist. Why? Basically, the form of socialism is changing. The
Hmm.
type of socialism that is perhaps viewed well with capitalism is the type of welfare that we are targeting today. Because
Hmm.
socialism creates a sense of security, sir, for anyone. And in fact, it is the top-notch capitalist who bat for the universal basic income. So socialism creates a sort of sense of security that makes other people aspirational and take risk in the life, and at the same time ensures that inequality doesn't go to an extent of creating hostile communities within a society. So I think socialism should not be abandoned, but the type of socialism that we are practicing, perhaps the targeted socialism, or perhaps socialism that reduces inequality. These are the ways that socialism has to be channelized in future.
Very well. Tanak, who's your favorite contemporary sociologist?
At this point of time, Sir Ulrich Beck.
Yeah.
Risk.
So, what is it about his writings which particularly appeals to you?
I find the concept of risk is very interesting and enlightening at this point of time, sir. Because wherever I go and see, be it economic, be it social, or
Hmm.
being risk is so much quantified today. So I
Hmm.
think he has made a proper assessment of explaining the present society as one that is born out of manufactured risk. Be it
Hmm.
we create nuclear weapons, after that we create treaties in order to people not to use it. But at the same time, we are apprehensive that other people might use it, and we create inspection regimes to have a monitoring system over that. We create a sort of economic system which breeds in pollution. But at the same
Hmm.
time, we are creating technologies to reduce the sort of pollution, the negative impacts that are visible. So, but at the same time, he is fantastic in saying that the solution aspect is controlled by only a handful of the societies, especially,
Hmm.
and they're making money out of that. So I find it very, at a macro level, it gives a sort of schema to understand the way the world perhaps contemporarily works.
Great. Tanak, who's your all-time favorite? From across time and space.
I like Mahatma Gandhi a lot.
Mahatma Gandhi. Can the likes of Gandhi and Ambedkar can they be considered as sociologists in any way?
Yes, sir. They, in fact, the lived experience that they have, or perhaps the exposure that they have, and the stories that they come. I think sociologists' main aspect is the stories that they come to them. So
Hmm.
that gives them a sort of a participant observation sort of life. I think Mahatma and Baba Saheb. I think they are the pinnacle and top notch people. The kind of sociologists, though they might not fashion themselves as, but I do find them a lot of sociology in them.
Very well, Tanak. Is there any specific area which you would like to discuss, which you think we may not have touched upon or sufficiently discussed?
Sir, I think it has been multidimensional and really eye-opening, and I think I could open out very well. and I don't find any particular niche that has been untouched. I would be very happy to receive your comments and work upon them, sir.
Great. So we are done with the formal session for now. Uh, it was overall a good experience.